So this video is going to focus on working problems that involve compound interest. So if you have money that's being compounded at certain intervals in time, you can use the formula A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT to solve for the amount of money that you're going to have given those different variables. So let's first of all look at what everything stands for. A is the amount of money that you initially invest. A is the amount that you have at the end of your time. P is the principal, which is the amount you initially invest. R is your rate. T is the time that you're going to have this in the bank. And then N is the number of compounds in 1 year. So let's look through a problem. We have $5,000 that we're going to invest at 1.7% interest for 7 years. We're going to look at two different ways. What if it's compounded monthly, and what if it's compounded quarterly? So our formula is A equals P times 1 plus, now our interest rate is 1.7%, so that would be 0.017 over N, which is the number of compounds in 1 year. Well, if we're compounded monthly, then I'm going to have 12 compounds in a year to the N, which would be 12 times time, which is 7. And we can go back, and let's go ahead and put in what our principal was, which in this case was $5,000. So that's what I want to use to find how much money I'm going to have at the end of those 7 years. So let's grab a calculator. We're going to do 5,000 parentheses 1 plus 0.017, 1.7% divided by 12 to the, now since there's two things in my exponent, you will need to put parentheses. Mine's automatically going to raise mine to that power, but I would want parentheses 12 times 7. All right, and then I'm going to push enter, and I get $5,631.37, or we'll round that to 38 cents. Let me change my calculator here real quick, because I want to make sure that you get this right when you put it in there, so that mine will look like yours. I would put 5,000 parentheses 1 plus 0.017 divided by monthly was 12 to the parentheses, and there's two things, 12 times 7. There we go. $5,631.38. So this is $5,631.38. Now let's look at what would happen if it had been compounded quarterly. Well, all that's going to change when I compound quarterly is my N changes. Instead of 12 times, quarterly would only happen 4 times in a year. So then I'd have what looks like 4.7. Let's make that 4 times 7. So now let's put that into our calculator. So I have 5,000 parentheses 1 plus 0.017 divided by 4 to the 4 times 7. And notice that we didn't lose a whole lot of money there. We lost right around $1. So it's $5,630.43. So this would be $5,630.43. Now, one last thing that we need to look at when compounding interest is to look at what if you are compounding continuously. When you are compounded continuously, you change the formula to be PERT. A equals P e to the RT. All your variables stand for the same thing that they did with regular compounding. Your P is your initial amount, your R is your rate, your T is your time. So I have $25,000 that's going to be invested 4% for 10 years, compounded continuously. So my formula becomes P 25,000 e to the my rate, which would be 0.04, times my time, which would be 10. And now I've just put that into the calculator. 25,000. And then second, and your LN button is e to the, and it was 0.04 was my rate, times my time, which we said was going to be 10 years. And push enter. Double check that. Yep. And so at the end of that time, I have $37,295.62. A would be $37,295.62.